Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Ti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesha Sunyavari Paschachadesha Tarine. Hare Krishna, good morning everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for coming on this auspicious occasion. Hey Bo, Laura, you okay? Oop, bit tight. No problem. Hare Krishna, made to measure. Okay. So I guess we'll read from the Bhagavatam. I don't know if this is a regular event here. Where's Karuna? Is he here?
He's in the kitchen.
He, as usual, he's in the kitchen.
We have class every Sunday morning.
Every Sunday from Bhagavatam? Is there like a specific system order or anything?
No, it's just a general overview of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're going through it sort of canto by canto.
Oh wow.
Rather than each verse.
Yeah. There's a marker, the book's here, there's a marker in this book. This is the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And there are 12 cantos to this great literature, and most of you are familiar with this book to some degree. Its knowledge of God is unlimited. We get just a little, whatever is required for us in this world to help the soul to progress towards its origins. So Srimad Bhagavatam, in this particular canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the first of 12 cantos, the foundation and the essence, we could say, the essence of both the knowledge itself, the practice to realize not the knowledge, and the result of that knowledge and the realization of that knowledge are found particularly in this first canto. So we'll read a little bit from this book today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is an invocation verse to approach our goal. We offer our hearts, our obeisances. We want to follow. Obeisances means to obey, fully obey. It's an offering. We offer ourselves to the Supreme name, Vasudeva, another name of God. He has unlimited names. He has unlimited qualities. Each name applies to a various aspect of his unending qualities, his character, his relationships, and so on. So Vasudeva, the supreme person, the source of everything, pure goodness. So before we start, every day becomes auspicious when we remember, we offer ourselves in service to the Lord, and we remember the purpose of our lives, the means to realize that purpose, and what is the object of our lives, so to speak. Srimad Bhagavatam particularly emphasizes this highest goal. People have various goals in life, maybe material or religious or some spiritual kind of goal. But this Bhagavatam is directed towards the highest goal. And at the very beginning of this literature describes from our perspective, you could say, how we need to see at this point of time how to approach that highest goal. Every living entity is in a different level of consciousness. To some degree, of course, there's some closeness, but still there are some individual differences there in our level of consciousness. And thus there are slightly different perspectives, even if you're living one house away from your neighbor, the direction to come here will be slightly different. The goal's the same. Maybe the means also may vary. You may not be able to drive a car. Your neighbor may. You may have a motor bicycle or a walk, go by horse, whatever it is you use, bus. Goal's the same. Should be. Doesn't have to be, of course. In most cases, people have different goals. But if we take the goal as being to return to our normal, our eternal position, to connect with the Supreme Lord according to His will, then there will be some differences, because we're in a different situation. We're conditioned differently. We have different bodies with different capacities, different upbringings, different karmas, different desires. We're individuals with their own unique individuality. And it's another, we can see in our daily lives that we may have a relationship with somebody and a different relationship with the same person in one sense. But with our children, we relate one way. Even amongst the children, we relate differently with each one. We love them all. We relate with our wife or our brother or our husband or our family members in different ways. If we're working, maybe we're managing something, or maybe we're working for somebody who's managing something, the relationships are different. We have our friends, different types of friends, our lovers, our whatever, all kinds of different relationships are there with animals, with nature, and so on. We have a relationship, and it has its variation. We're not just dead matter, so to speak. Even dead matter is not exactly dead matter, but it seems to be in its relationship. We're living, conscious living entities, and we experience different effects by associating with different living entities, with different objects in this world, with different situations, different sounds, everything. Each of us reacts differently. We react differently when we're in contact with various foodstuffs. Some children, you give them something, they turn their back on it. And some children grab it. I don't know there was one of your little family members, a little young lady last night. I don't know too much to remember all at once at my age, but very sweet little girl. And she loved the sweet, that's for sure. She kept coming back when you were not looking, she would just come back and grab one of those, 1, 2, as many as she could. No problem, if you're okay with that. Probably a little bit of leniency there when you're that age, but She was very enthusiastic about those little, what do you call those round balls? Sweet ball. I don't know what they were. They had coconut on them.
Macarons.
Pardon?
Macarons?
Macaron? Macron? Macron?
Macaroons.
Yeah,
Macron. Macron is the president of France. It's not many people. Not so many people are keen on him, but but whoever's daughter or whatever, she was amazing, absolutely amazing kid. And then somebody else, I give it to no. There's a saying, Macron, what do I call it? Whatever it was anyway, something. Macaroon. It was. I guess they were all the same, more or less. But you know, different people respond differently because we're individuals. But the goal should be the same. The idea is that unity is when we've got the same goal. And even the same goal is there. There's tremendous variety in relationship, unlimited, much more than we experience here, in fact. Relationship with that supreme goal. It's not boring. It's not monotonous. Of course, the Lord reciprocates according to us. You do to a certain extent also, of course, we all do. You know, we reciprocate according to the other person's relationship too. We don't just impose our side on it entirely, irrelevant of their relationship with us or their feelings towards us. We take that into account. Reciprocate accordingly. Physically, mentally, emotionally, in so many ways. That's there in the origin, the Supreme Lord's. We're all coming from Him. Everything comes from Him. And just learning or just realizing how everything's related to Him and acting accordingly. The body has numerous parts. We can only see the general outline. But within there are countless cells, each with their own individual uniqueness. They may be unaware of the overall body, but they have their own unique part to play within this physical form. We may see the limbs, we may see the organs to some extent, see the tongue, the eyes, and a few other things. See the skin, of course. See the legs and the arms and the head and the nose and the ear and some other specifics on the form of the body, toes. And each of them have their unique part to play. They're all important. And they make up the whole. And within that body there's a conscious being who you could say is aware of mostly, more or less aware of the whole body and utilizes the whole body for its purposes as much as possible, for better or for worse. So similarly, every living entity has their part. But there's a supreme person, Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Eko Bahunam, Yo Vidadati Kamam. They're unlimited living entities, unlimited. And amongst the unlimited, Nityo Nityanam, they're unlimited living. There's one, Eko Bahunam, Yo Vidadati Kamam. There is one living entity, one personality, who is the complete, full in every respect, the origin of everything. In different cultures, different religions, they may address that person from slightly different angles, different name, different quality stands out in their worship or their understanding. Let's take an example, if we can. Looking around here, what shall we use as an example? Very simple. I have a book here. What do you see? You, Masika. Do you see anything?
White rectangle with black sides.
A long, thin rectangle, whitish with black edges. What do you see?
A great transcendental adventure.
He sees a great transcendental adventure. What do you see?
Looks like a beautiful adventure. There's a lot there.
Lots there, isn't there? Lots of pictures,
Yeah.
I think. All kinds of pictures of Prabhupada by the looks of it.
Yeah.
What do you see?
The great transiting to a beach.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than that one, though, isn't it?
Yeah, very similar, except it's long.
Sort of, something in common, but this one's long and thin, isn't it? That one's definitely not long and thin. But, and now I'll do another thing. What do you see now? Whoop. What do you see?
Pages.
Not very much in terms of the detail, but basically you see white paper, more or less, isn't it? Maybe there's a little outline on the edge. White paper with some probably black writing. You may not be able to see exactly, but probably. But it's the same book, isn't it? Even if you open the pages, if you read this page, and then you turn there and you read that page, it's, you know, there's similarities, but there are differences. But it's the same book. God is one. But persons in different positions may see that same person differently. We may argue over that sometimes. Oh my goodness, that's nice. It's like, what's that? I don't remember the details, but there's a story about 6 blind men of Hindustan. To an elephant they did go, or something like that. And when they're all blind, one of them grabs the leg and says, "Oh, is this an elephant? This elephant's very much like a tree." And the other one grabs the tail, "Oh, it's very much like a rope." And the other one grabs the tusk, says it's something like a sword. The other one grabs the trunk, and it's something like a pipe. And one of them grabs the elephants have big ears. It's something like a flag or something, and it's like this. You know. Another one, he can't exactly grab the belly, but you know, he kind of holds the belly like that. It's like a massive drum. They're all partly right, but they're all in the wrong at the same time. You know, because they don't understand the whole, and they may argue with each other about what it is, isn't it? They may even fight with each other, bash each other. Unfortunately, without understanding the connection. Typical affair in life which we lead. Convinced that our perspective is the right one. It is connected, isn't it? It certainly is. It's not wrong in one sense, but it's a part of the whole. We have to be able to understand that the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has unlimited qualities, unlimited names. Unlimited. So to try to piece that together. But unfortunately we get stuck sometimes in our own little kind of worlds and don't go beyond it. We get stuck on the level we're on. The Bhagavatam is to try to help us to not necessarily dismiss what we understood, but to understand it in relationship with the whole. And to go further in our realization, of course, naturally. In fact, this Bhagavatam, most people in the world's goal is pretty much material. There may be some piety there may not be so much piety there, but it's still pretty much material. Even the idea of material elevation or heavenly achievements are still somewhat, you know, short of the mark, and they're self-centered in a sense. I want to go to heaven, I want to be liberated, I want to be seen as a good person, and these are all self-centered to different degrees, of course, and they may or may not be in relationship with God. They may be completely, you know, denying his very existence. Everyone has that choice. It was interesting yesterday, I was talking with Janakaraj Prabhu about different aspects. We were talking about, which Prabhupada did because most people are influenced, knowingly or unknowingly, by atheistic philosophies, scientific or even pseudo-religious misinterpretations and so on and so forth. Our whole world is based upon this in many ways, education and so on. And he was telling me about these 3 highly intelligent rabbis of the Jewish faith, and they were extremely scientific people. I don't know, he said he would send me the link or the video or something of this conversation they had with a famous atheist. His name is Richard Dawkins, perhaps you've heard that name. He wrote several books, famous book, isn't it? God's Illusion, I think it's called.
God delusion.
Yeah, God's Illusion. Famous book, and a few others too. And he's actually very God conscious in many ways, because he's got this, he's like, can't get it out of his mind. He's trying to disprove the existence of God. But he talks about God, no, there is no, on and on and on and on, no God, you know. But he can't get it out of his head, you know. He's like one of the demons in Krishna Lila, you know, like Kamsa, you know. He couldn't, hated Krishna, but he couldn't forget him for a moment, practically speaking, you know. No, he's not God, or Hiranyakashipu, you know. Yes. Demons. They may know in one sense there must be a God, but I've got to kill him, you know, get him out of here. Somehow or another. So he's got a bit of that in him, something interesting character he must be. Anyway, they challenged him. They really challenged him. And they were super scientists, more than he is. And they proved that, I don't know anything much about science, it's a micro, and Jana Crash knows all these details, microcellular combinations, I don't know. And scientifically, it's absolutely impossible for them to exist unless the whole exists. But the whole doesn't exist until the evolution produces the whole. It's a absolute 100% contradiction of evolution from the scientific point of view. The scientists themselves are proving themselves wrong by their own theory. But they're still trying to convince everyone else they're right. So they totally defeated him. Totally. They said, well, come on, what's your explanation for this? And he said, probably some spacemen arrived. And I said, what are you talking about? You're mad, you know? He had no other answer. Some other entities from another planet turned up, you know, and caused the impossible, whatever it is, to happen. What a scientific statement is that? So you believe in spacemen? You don't believe in God? You know, it's like, they're so kind of blinded. Pardon?
Baby steps.
What is that?
You get to God eventually, but you have to take baby steps.
Yeah.
What was that?
Baby steps.
Baby steps, yeah, baby steps, yeah, baby steps, yeah. Yeah, baby steps.
At least revising some
Yeah,
horizons.
something. Anyone's actually a scientist, I mean, it's just inconceivable when you look at it. I mean, it's just inconceivable how it could come about by, you know, some, whatever causes it, but some kind of chance or some kind of... There is an evolution, but it's not an evolution of that kind. It's one of consciousness. Our consciousness can evolve by association. What to do in this world today? So most people have this kind of blind idea that, you know, if we increase our material, so-called civilized advancement, that we're going to be, I don't know what we're going to become. We can become more advanced or what, more happy. That we'll live in this body forever if you want to. I don't know if you want to or not. I'm not so sure I do. Live in this body forever. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some people do. When I was a young man, I don't know what a young man entails, but, you know, physically speaking, 50, 60 years ago, the big claim was that very soon our science will advance to such a stage that you will never die in this body. You will be able to live forever in this body. It was a big propaganda, at least. We don't see it much now. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you do. I don't know. I'm not involved in modern education, but it was a big thing then. Most people were convinced that, you know, science is going to do that. You know, it was really something to look forward to. It's like a goal of some kind. They're so advanced, but they don't seem to have made an awful lot of advancement in that regards. And then, of course, we had the big thing about going to the moon. Everyone's gone to the moon. There were songs, you know, people were buying land on the moon. Whatever that is, you know. Holidays. I think even now, I think some very rich man on the planet is talking about, you know, trips to the moon or something. I guess they still go there. Do they still go there? Do people go to the moon these days? Why not? Why not? Have they seen it all? Have they discovered it? Maybe there's gold on the moon. Who knows? Who knows?
No, it's Mars.
Oh, they're going to Mars
We're
now.
going to go to Mars.
They're Mars. There's not enough Mars bars on the Earth, so they're going to get some bars up there, have they? Do you have Mars bars here in New Zealand? This chocolate sweet? Mars bars. Mars bars. Yeah. So they say. They say they're going, trying to. Is a man gone to Mars yet, or just some satellites or whatever they call it? They're talking about it. Dawkins is talking, or Hawking is talking? Who's talking about it? Those are the two most famous influencers in modern day atheism, practically. Whatever it is, even if they go, what difference does it make? They say it costs you a few $100 billion, your tax money maybe, I don't know, to a so-called flight to the moon. But what little difference does it make? Doesn't improve life anything, does it? You see them all jumping up and down excitedly then, and what's that, NASA? Is NASA? No. Jumping up and down excitedly that they landed on the moon or something. Something crazy. All kinds of things. So whatever it is, it is. It doesn't do any real good. Even if they go, so what? What difference does it make? People are still starving, people are still fighting, people are still miserable and suffering. Do something about that. We can't do anything about that, so they try to defer your attention to something else, and you think, oh, they're very advanced. Ooh, we're conquering the universe. Conquering the universe! We're going to conquer God. There is no God. The proof of this, there is no God. One of them, I won't mention the name, one of those persons I mentioned earlier, one of their statement was, because the universe is going on so symmetrically, this is absolute proof there is no God. It's like clockwork, it's going on without any, what is the need of a God? It's going on automatically. Even anything, you can look at it from different angles. The Lord allows this. He gives them the intelligence to see it in such a way. Denying his presence. Who was saying that yesterday? I think John Crash, he's quite savvy on these things. He's very sharp. I'm trying to get him to start writing. He's a really good analyst. He's got so much which he can share, especially with the people in general, in terms of seeing things more in relationship with a supreme person. I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but I think it was in that same conversation that he said something like what Hawkins said. He said exactly the same thing as Hiranyakashipu, actually. He said, well, if you do believe in a God, how is it we can't see him? He said something like that. My mother said the same thing. When I was a young kid, I asked my mother, is there a God? Because, she was sending me to, a school, Sunday school, for children every week. Obviously, you hear about God, you hear about Jesus, you hear about this and that, naturally. So I asked her, does God exist? And she said, no. I said, I asked something, I followed up again. Must have said something like, why not, or something. She said, well, if he existed, she said, I remember that part, said, then I would see him, but I can't see him. We're just like Hiranyakashipu. Why can't I see him? Where is he? Yeah. Many things we can't see. Our capacity is so limited. So limited. Bhagavatam shows us and tells us if you want to see, Krishna says, if you want to see me, this is the method. It's not just like that. One has to have purification to see so many things of heart. As we mentioned last night, when the water is very dirty and muddy, you can't see much. When the water is very pure, you can see to the bottom. It's very attractive. Very nice. But we can't see much. Our consciousness is muddy, covered. So we clear our hearts, clear our consciousness. Not change body in terms of physical. That's okay. You don't even have to change what you're doing. It's a change of perception. Change of how we see things. Some of these things which we do may not be very favorable for that. So we may adjust, but it's not the cause. It's not the main thing. We do the needful, but to purify our vision, our consciousness, opening our eyes, you could say. We can see. We're not getting very far in the reading, but it's related to the subject matter, because this first canto particularly, as you said, we're doing more of a summary rather than a verse-by-verse study. It really is based upon this principle on a broader platform. The compiler of this scripture, in terms of its literary manifestation, being Srila Vyasadeva, name of the great sage, under the direction of his spiritual master Narada Rishi, Narada Muni, compiled this great scripture, because it's a self-realizing manifestation, you could say, from within, but it's nonetheless directed from without also. And it's taken from although modern history will probably not be very much in agreement with this, but from different conversations, different interactions with sage, saintly persons, from many, 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 many thousands, hundreds of thousands of years across the universe. It's way beyond any acceptance of modern anthropology or history or anything like that. But that's irrelevant in sense of the actual essence of the Bhagavatam. It's the actual substance that counts, not the way it came. Even say, for instance, somebody gives us some direction how to get from here to Christchurch. Does it really matter who they are, if it's correct? Does it matter where they got it from? You may ask those questions because we're doubting, but if it's actually the right direction, does it really make any difference? Oh, no, I don't accept it from you. You don't, whatever. You're from, wherever it is, Nigeria or something. So I don't accept it from you. But they're giving you correct knowledge. No, I don't accept it from you because you're more than 6 foot tall. I don't accept it from you. You've got blue shoes on. I don't accept knowledge from people with blue shoes. It's obviously illogical. Knowledge is knowledge. Where its source may be is another thing. Ultimately, the source is God, but how it comes through from Him to us. You may be interested in that. You may need to know about that in order to try to prove to others that it is authentic, etc. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter if it's actually knowledge of how to achieve your goal. Or if it's an object, for instance, gold. Someone gives you gold, you're not going to say, hey, wait a minute, is this gold Chinese gold or South African gold? Which type of gold is it? I have to know. It's gold. And gold is, I guess, different degree of gold, but the principle is gold, wherever it comes from. Maybe different carat gold or this and that. It's gold. You don't fight over whether it's South African or Chinese gold or whatever it is. Dunedin gold, Otago gold. They still have gold down here? They do, huh? They have gold mines down here?
The gold rush.
They had the gold rush, but is there still any gold mine?
Yeah, there is, yeah.
Is there?
McRae's.
Pardon?
Just up near Oamaru.
Nearby?
Yeah.
Whew. Come on, let's get out there. What are we doing here? Hey, we could become rich. Gold. Gold. People kill each other over it, don't they? They go crazy. I mean, it obviously does have some essential value, not just because we labeled it. It does. We may not understand it. It's like people. People have certain qualities. Metals, they have certain qualities. And we say, this person is very learned. I mean, maybe they are. And therefore you learn from them. And different metals, they do have certain permanent value. Difficult for to kind of, it's just metal. So what? We don't know that. What does the gold mean to, for instance, a dog? Doesn't mean anything, does it? Not really. Maybe they like the look of it, I don't know. They can't eat it. They don't wear it, unless some human puts it on them. They can't sell it. They don't have that nature. They can't do anything. They can't buy a load of bones with it. I suppose if they knew. Well, they do actually. In Vrindavan, Krishna's playground, in Vrindavan, even to this day, if you go there, you'll see a lot of monkeys, aren't there? Lots of monkeys. Monkeys. Hey, go get my computer. I'll read you a story about monkeys. It's related to the previous one. It's far out. So there are lots, thousands of monkeys in Vrindavan. And they're I mean, we say they're clever. I mean, monkeys are traditionally, at least in India, we don't have that experience here in New Zealand. You don't have monkeys in the forest here, do you? No. In the zoo, you may have some monkeys. So you don't really but they're very good. They like to steal. They like to steal. Now, we get very disturbed. But one of the reasons they like to steal is because we've stolen from them. They were living happily in the forest. They have their fruits, they have their nuts, they have everything there. And we've taken it all away from them. And we harass them if they try to come in there. So in one sense, we're the thief, not them. Isn't it? Yeah. But they've got it. They want to live just like anyone else. And they've got quite evolved intelligence, more than most what we call animals, we could say. So they got very clever now. Some of you, like myself, wear spectacles. Now, when you go to Vrindavan, and maybe other places too, I don't know, but especially there, they are very expert. They know that those spectacles are very important to you. And they are very expert at stealing them. Even if you hold them like this, they will get them. They have this unique ability, isn't it? They can basically fly through the air practically. They go, woo, and as they come by, they whip. They got these hands that grip like anything. And boom, they come out of your hand like that, or your pocket. If it's on your face, forget it. There's no way you're going to keep them. No way. And then they go up on top of a wall or some electric line or something, and they sit there like this. Looking at you, waiting, and then it's a barter system goes on for 10 minutes. It used to be bananas. They're not interested in bananas anymore. What's it called, fruity? There's this drink, packaged drink, and the monkeys love it. They know how to rip it open and drink it. And you've got to give them 1, 2, 3, 4 fruities before you get your glasses back. And oftentimes they come back broken and chewed, They're not much use anyway. And this is a daily affair. You see it every single day. It's like a competition going on, especially in the shopping areas, They're everywhere. They're everywhere. So they do. They have this knowledge. Little knowledge. It has some value, but generally it's not. I mean, if you're wearing a pair of glasses in this country, you don't find the birds coming and snatching your glasses or something, They have it means nothing to them. It's irrelevant. There's not much use to anyone else, really. If I give you my glasses, what are you going to do with them? You can give them to a monkey in Vrindavan or something. I don't know what else you can do. What can you do? Let's read a monkey story. It's directly related, if we can find it, that is. Let's see. Here we go. The monkey, oh, it's right at the top of the list. Look at that. You may have heard this before. It's, I'm not quite sure what that means. I don't know what this title is quite right. The Monkey's Disgrace is called. The monkeys, I don't think, the monkeys, three wise monkeys, here we go. 3 monkeys sat in a coconut tree, discussing things as they are said to be. Said one to the other, "Now listen, you two. There's a rumor around that can't be true. That man descended from our noble race. The very idea is a great disgrace." He was a very poetic monkey, very wise monkey. "No monkey has ever deserted his wife, starved her babies and ruined her life. And you've never known a mother monk to leave her babies with others to bunk, or pass from one to another till they scarcely know who is their mother. Another thing you'll never see, a monk build a fence around a coconut tree and let the coconuts go to waste, forbidding all other monks to taste. Why, if I put a fence around a tree, starvation will force you to steal from me. Here's another thing a monkey won't do, go out at night and get on a stew, or use a gun or club or knife to take some other monkey's life. Yes, man descended, the ornery cuss, but brother, he did not descend from us." Wise monkey. Pretty good, huh? I don't know who wrote it. It's a poem which I've got here somewhere. He didn't descend from us. Yes, man descended, the ornery cuss. Look up ornery, O-R-N-E-R-Y. You know what it means, ornery? Look it up in your mobile, ornery. The ornery cuss. What does it mean? But brother, he didn't descend from us. Bad-tempered. Yeah. So proud, bad-tempered, stubborn. Yeah. And the whole world is kind of misled by this. But anyway, just a little bit of an interesting poem. The monkeys, wise monkeys. So Bhagavatam, well, the catalyst, the initiative to reveal this subject matter was aimed at this, because Vyasadeva was an extremely learned person, and he gathered knowledge from all sources of knowledge, all sources of scriptures and great personalities, and he compiled numerous literatures. Many of them are still present today. Puranas, so many Puranas, histories of the universe and the lessons there which are given to help us to live in this universe with a spiritual goal, objective. Even for those who don't want a spiritual goal, he wrote literatures so that they could live at least a better life in this universe. The Vedas, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistragunya Bhavajana, Krishna himself says they deal mainly with the 3 modes of nature, the material energy, and how to improve your situation or how to live better in a particular mode if you're in that mode. But they don't deal so much with the purpose behind it all. and mostly the Vedas are accepted in India, of course, as being the source of spiritual knowledge, the highest truths and so on. But they mainly deal with the modes of this material world. They don't deal much with the existence of the soul beyond. They do, but it's kind of, it's not emphasized so much. And in most scriptures of the world, they deal mostly with, of course, the process of elevation, connecting everything to God in one way or another. So they also contain, but they don't deal so much with the actual, let's say what's called prajna in Sanskrit, the actual goal itself, or even the pure means of achieving that ultimate goal. There's direction given. Direction indeed is given. But if followed, that is, and if received from, in this case, of course, the right source. You have to make sure it's from the right source. So that's there, and Vyasadeva compiled so many, even compiled the Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, but he put that into a written form in the text of the Mahabharata, the great history of Bharat, or Greater India. It was contained within there. The Ramayana was compiled not by Vyasadeva, but that was also there. And so many other scripts and texts were there, compiled by Vyasadeva. But still, something was missing. Something missing. Not feeling it's complete. He's missed the most essential purpose of it all. Purpose behind the Vedas, the purpose behind everything. Everything that exists. He missed the point. So, of course, all this is the arrangement of the Lord for our purposes, for so many purposes. His spiritual master came on the scene, Narada Muni, and spoke to him. Said, "My dear Prabhu, feeling undone, not satisfied? You've compiled all the Vedas, including the Itihasas and the Puranas, and so many other scriptures, for the welfare of society, of humankind. But you're not satisfied?" And Vyasadeva he was feeling something's missing here. In the Puranas, you'll see so much glorification of Vishnu, Krishna, God in so many ways, but he didn't feel quite satisfied still. Then Narada pointed out the cause of his dissatisfaction. Although you've written all this, no one could possibly have done this, but you've missed the ultimate goal, the real thing that everybody is really, at least they may not want, but should be their objective. You haven't emphasized the eternal loving relationship with God. You've mentioned we have a relationship over and over again in terms of from various angles, but you've not really sufficiently explained the eternal nature of Godhead and our relationship with Him. So Bhagavatam is that it's a revelation of that relationship, step by step, and the nature of the Supreme. Not just in relationship with the material world, not just in relationship with his various expansions and energies, but he himself. So he emphasized that. They said in the name of giving knowledge, in one sense you're misdirecting people, because you're emphasizing that the goal of life is either heavenly achievement or liberation or something short of pure love of God. Selfless, unmotivated, eternal, never stopping. Unmotivated means with no objective of God give me this, God give me that. It's not even a question of thank you, God. That's obviously something which is there in the steps that we take. But ultimately it's because you have nothing but love of God. And when you absolutely love somebody, there's not even a necessity for thank you or please or anything. It's automatic. is automatic. There's nothing else. One simply exists for the pleasure of the beloved. And that's not been sufficiently emphasized in so many ways that Vyasadeva had presented the scriptures. It seemed that other objectives were more essential. So in this way, Bhagavatam was the cream of the Vedic literatures. You can see at the beginning of Bhagavatam, one of the first verses is there, Nigama Kalpataro. I turn straight to it. Nigama Kalpataro Galitam Palam Sukamahad Amritadava Samyutam Pibita Bhagavatam Asamalayam Hora Hora Vasika Bhuviva Bhukaha. O expert and thoughtful man, relish the Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. So when it's spoken by great devotees, it becomes even more relishable. Mothers sometimes, when they feed their babies, when the baby starts eating solid food, the mother may put the food in her mouth first and chew it to make it soft and palatable. She doesn't take it in. She doesn't even taste it necessarily. Maybe she does to make sure it's nice for the child. But basically, she doesn't take anything out of that food. She just makes it more palatable for the child. So the Bhagavatam, also spoken by realized souls, becomes even more digestible to those who hear, because they speak according to time, place, and circumstance to the audience, so the audience can digest it easier. When they're speaking to a different audience, they may present the same substance in a slightly different emphasis, because they can't digest in the same way, but it's the same substance. In the previous verse, to that one which we just read, we see completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. I don't think that that means everything else is of no value, but the ultimate point is that we should understand the highest goal, not just the stages only. Yes, it is important to follow religious principles. That's the principle of human society. It is important to follow moral codes. It is important to understand that, God is the supplier, and so on and so forth. But to go beyond that. So Bhagavatam goes beyond that, completely rejecting all religious activity which are materially motivated. This Bhagavat Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The word is nimatsaranam. It literally means without any envy whatsoever, for anything or anyone. Here it says, completely pure in heart. The highest truth is reality, distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within the heart. Culture. The culture. Culture is not just some entertainment. Sometimes we limit it to, some social entertainment or some behavior patterns within a particular group. Is related, but that's not the essence of culture. It's culture meaning a growth of consciousness, and what we normally term as culture, which is the various aspects of that particular group's behavior or their habits, or their whatever it may be, their structure and so on, is if it doesn't really evolve in terms of one's consciousness or one's understanding of the real essence of life, it would not be, in one sense, really a culture as such, not a spiritual culture anyway. Prabhupada said this movement is a cultural revolution. That doesn't mean changing what we normally term the external or the historical aspects, but rather the consciousness. The consciousness. It's not what we do, but the consciousness in which we work. So Bhagavatam is to try to help that evolvement of consciousness. So we rise above the three modes. We may still utilize them because we're in a material world after all, we're in a material body. We may work with others who are still on the material path. So one tries to utilize them in a way which is, as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, that one acts in such a way as to try to help others to act in a way which is favorable for them to also progress towards the goal, the spiritual goal, the ultimate goal, and not just the temporary goals of life, achieving material success, wealth, a better life, a better body, everything like that. Peace. Even peace in the material world is not an absolute factor because we die. The body dies anyway. There's suffering. So there's no real peace in the material world. We still suffer from so many ailments. Threefold miseries mentioned here. There's birth and death, old age and disease, miseries from other living entities, miseries from our own body and mind, miseries caused by material natures. So if in one sense you can see it differently, but nonetheless earthquakes and tornadoes and so on are not very pleasing. They're very painful. Weather also sometimes unpleasant. So different types of unavoidable circumstances that are in this material world. They will go on. It's just a matter of our consciousness to see it in a different way. So, change of consciousness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Okay, well, finishing there. Many of you have got to go to work or school. Maybe school has started. No school, young lady? No school? No school?
Not yet.
When they start? Next week?
Yeah, I think so.
Some places they started already this week, yeah, some schools. Some schools a little later. Some of you have to do homework, some of you have to do home services, and they have other appointments. We have to go to Christchurch this morning, or soon, very soon. Unfortunately, only one day in Dunedin. What to do? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any questions? Chaitanya? Deep, you off to work?
No, I'm going to distract.
You're just going to
Breakfast?
get the breakfast. Good. Organize the breakfast. I think some devotees have been preparing the breakfast. Is that right? Karuna, maybe Janavama. Yes, Chaitanya.
Right, so I have a question. From my understanding of reading Srila Prabhupada's books is that the living entities, when they're not in a human form of life, that they don't get karma. They don't get reactions to karma.
For what they do, yeah.
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 So I was wondering, like, because, like, why is that? Because they're not rational. They're not rational. Because Prabhupada would say that human beings are a rational animal.
Yeah.
That is what it distinguishes.
Yeah.
them from-
Responsible.
Yeah, responsible.
Yeah.
So, because for these monkeys, actually, they have that rationality, that understanding.
There's some rationality
they
there.
steal glasses or they steal
Yeah.
a mobile phone,
Yeah.
that they can trade it
Yeah.
so that they can get fruity.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah. Well, from another point of view, you see the monkey form of life is on the verge of human life. They're coming into human. This is usually their last life before human life. So the traits are starting to come in. The tendencies are starting to manifest here. They're preparing for the human life. Like that. So it's quite close, although it's not human exactly, but it's quite close. And obviously they've had, because that's only one, there are every species of life has its unique nature, which is a result of a particular nature they had in a previous human life. a long time back maybe. In human life, the general understanding is if we don't utilize it, it's not everyone has to go down like this. Many people are going forward also to a more elevated form. But in these cases, with a living entity, probably a majority, go down to lower species of life because they've wasted their human form. So you have all kinds of tendencies in the human form. I mean, let's give an example. Some people love to swim underwater. If anyone will know, I left it behind, didn't I? I have this, someone gave me an underwater thing you put on your head with torches and lights on it. God knows what I'm going to do. I'd never gone underwater in my life, but they gave me, I did once, and that was enough. Twice, actually. Both of them were enough. And anyway, I don't know what they wanted me to start going on underwater swimming at my age or something. I don't know what they wanted, but they gave it to me anyway. So I gave it to someone else now. But some people like to go underwater swimming. It's not really the nature of a human form of life, but some people like to do that. Some people wish they could fly in the sky. Some people wish they could, some people do. They have an urge to steal. Some people have an urge to, eat like pigs. If that's just a terminology, I don't know if pig eats more or less than anyone else, but you use the term eat like a pig. And some other people they just kind of default to lying. Different people have different characteristics, and in this life, depending again on maybe this karma is very complex, extremely complex. So they may be very pious. They may be very pious in other ways. They're very welfare, charitable. They help people in distress, and so on and so forth. So there's a piety there as well, mixed in with some bad traits. All this taken together, you get various types of bodies to play out and to receive the karma, if there's good or bad, whatever it may be. You can be born as a dog, and there are different dogs. Some dogs have it good, huh? They have a pretty good life. They're living in a high life, in fact, better than their owners. They have all the same food, they stay in the same place, they don't have to work. They got so much nice facility. They've got hotels for dogs. They've got resorts, like playgrounds for dogs. They've got shopping malls. They've got shopping centers. I've seen a supermarket for dogs. Dog supermarket. Everything that the dog goes around sniffing this and looking at that, and the parents get him this and that. Pretty good life. They groom them very nicely, and they don't have to do anything. They just sort of enjoy it, I guess. So there's a good karma there, but they've got a dog's body, so there's not really any, it's just temporary thing, and then they get another body, and maybe not a good body. They have some good karma. Everyone has good and bad karma. So different types of bodies, which are basically like sentences or rewards, whichever way you want to look at it, from what you've done. So those who were in a monkey body, they must have had a tendency to steal in a previous human life, and now they're almost ready to take birth in a human life again, so it's starting to get pretty close to the surface, that rationality. But they learn that from others. They don't have it instinctively, by the way. It's amazing. I don't know who they learn it from exactly, but they've learned it from others. It's spreading in Vrindavan. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's like, when it started in the center, I don't know. It's interesting when I say they learned it from others. You can train certain animals, you see. And I know that certain persons train the monkeys to do this. Oh, yeah. Because you always find, now you don't, it's different now, it's everywhere, but you find there's always a man there with a nice big, what do you call it? Board with wheels on it. What do you call it? Big trolley. A man selling bananas, selling nuts. Right there, where your glasses are stolen. Not like that now. It used to be 30 years ago. There'd always be when you got a trolley, flat trolley with hundreds of bananas piled. The monkeys never go there. And he's there, and there's hundreds of monkeys around, and you're walking past, The monkeys jumped. And then he immediately comes to you, or comes with a big bunch of bananas, 500 rupees. The monkey's looking at. And you know, it actually, I'm sure that they actually had some way of training the monkeys like this. So now the monkeys have caught on, and they're like passing it over, and it's evolved way beyond that. Now, much beyond it, but the principle's still there. They learnt this lesson, and it's spreading all over Vrindavan. You know, it's not just in those areas now; it's everywhere. You know, you learn these things as children learn these things. Little kids, they learn from their environment. If their parents are thieves, or you know, whatever form it takes, and their tendency is there that they also learn from their parents or their friends or whatever, their family members. And they also take up that habit. It's quite common. So they do like that, but they've got a little bit more evolved. I mean, monkeys have much more evolved intelligence or rationale. It's not on the level of a human exactly, but it's more evolved than most other animals. Dogs also have. Different species, they have a little bit more evolved aspect of that rationale. It's not that of a human, but it's more evolved. So they're coming close to that stage. But they're trained to do that. You can train many animals, many, perhaps most, to act in such a way. Something, I don't know if you can train fish. You can train many birds, you can train many animals to behave in such a way. They do have some kind of degree of intellectual rationale. I don't know if that makes sense. Anything else? Jonathan.
Maharaj, my question is that we are continuously hearing so much information from Bhagavatam and the Vaishnavas that makes complete sense.
Not to Richard Dawkins, it didn't.
Huh?
It didn't make sense to Richard Dawkins, I'm afraid.
To those who are rational and intelligent.
Okay, that's like you, of course. You know,
No.
like me.
No.
Intelligent people like me.
Hence the question. This is the question. So we hear these things continuously, and we understand it, and it makes sense, but putting it into practice doesn't always come straight away. So what is it that's stopping us from actually putting into practice that which we hear?
We're not taking enough and wonderful prasadam cooked by you. That will transform our hearts. We're missing it. It's a fact. That's one of the factors. It's not, it's not that's the absolute factor, but it is. When you taste prasadam cooked by a devotee who's in very pure consciousness, it makes a difference, doesn't it? I don't know if any of you have had that experience, because you may not have had it, simple as that. But if you had that experience, you can tell. One time Srila Prabhupada went to a temple. I can't even remember if it's London. It may have been. It happened before I think I was around, I'm not sure. But the doers were telling me that there was all kinds of what do you say, not so good relationships even, and things. Consciousness wasn't so good in the temple as it should have been. And the first thing Prabhupada asked was, who was the cook? Who was the cook? And he found the cook wasn't following the principles. He immediately said that the best devotee should be the cook. Best devotee means the devotee who appears to be the most pure. So he arranged it like that. And everything changed just by that act alone. Devotees were more enthusiastic to attend the program, more enthusiastic, much better relationship between them. Mostly there's different ways of looking. There's the positive and negative. We commit offenses. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I have no taste because of offenses. We commit offenses to others, subtly or grossly. It's a hangover from the past. But that doesn't really answer your question, because it just takes it just to another kind of level of why. Because why do you commit offenses would be the next question. I know I shouldn't, but still I do. We're conditioned. No doubt it takes time. Why are we conditioned? We could ask that question. Why am I conditioned to materially speaking, to see things in this way, or you see things in that way. Why? Why has that happened? Why? Why? You can say karma. Why are you this shape and I'm that shape? Okay, karma, but that's not, again, it's not really why, because karma is not itself a controller. It's a rewarder or punisher or whatever you want to call it, facilitator. We can go right back to our very will. If you want to get to the root of it, do we really desire to love Krishna? Do we really desire to change? Or is it just something but not complete? We don't have it. And from the practical point of view, why have we developed certain concepts? Why have we developed certain attachments? Why have we developed a certain perception? Why have we developed a certain nature in this world? What is the cause of that? You say originally we're in this world because we desire to be independent of Krishna. So but within this world, which is where we're presently experiencing anyway, why have we got the conditioning we've got? We all had that initial desire to be independent, but why are we all so different like this now in this material world? What's the cause? It's kind of probably too easy to answer in one sense. What causes, let's say in this lifetime, we touched on it just now, what causes a person to become a thief? Now, it's not necessarily the absolute cause, by the way, but if we only see it in terms of one lifetime, what's the cause? Association, isn't it? You associate at school, you learn certain things, you learn certain concepts, beliefs, acceptance and rejection. Many things are learned at home, at school, on social media, in the television, but particularly, whichever way you look at it, is by association. The association we hold. That has the major effect. Now, how long have we been associating with this universe? We don't know. According to the Vedic Shastras, it's numerous lifetimes. Brahmanda Brahmite Kom, Bhagavan Ji, Guru Krishna Prasadi Bhai Bhakti Lata Beach. We've been wandering this universe from practically time immemorial, from one life to another, one planet to another, one plane to another. And we've been associating with the modes of nature in terms of the generalization, means the effects of the modes, interactions in different ways, different individuals, different objects, different places, different pleasures and pains. We've been associating with that from time immemorial. And it's a very solid, just like they say, over a period of billions of years, things like the production of diamonds or something is incredible pressure over billions of years. It's very hard to cut a diamond, very hard to break it. So we've got a tremendous conditioning over so long. It takes a lot of pressure to make that change, even if we want to. We make a little change and boom, we go back. We fall back by association, either with our own conditioning or conditional self, or with others around us. I mean, even you see in the Krishna book, look at Jarasandha, for instance, because these are special, but taken as an example. He was totally defeated by Krishna. He went home humiliated. Or Rukmi, totally defeated, Krishna, and humiliated him. He went back home, and they go back home, and they by association, they think, they see it differently. It was ill luck that he defeated you. It was his good fortune today. It was by chance. It was you had a bad day, that was all. Just go back again. You'll beat him next time. Maybe, I don't know. You doubt and then you think, but then you get convinced and you go back again. And because we don't have that burning desire, we don't have that, we're still a little tendency to maybe, we're a little envious, a little jealous, we commit some offense towards somebody or whatever. It doesn't help. but basically by association. We have strong association. How do you feel? How do you feel? Inspired, strong. You feel stronger, don't you? It's not difficult to follow when you have good association. Very easy. Or if you're staying in a community where everyone's following, it's not difficult to follow at all. You don't even know not to follow practically.
Also, a huge part of that is
Excuse me?
willing to be honest with oneself and.
Wait, we're still on, is it the same question?
Yeah. Sorry, it's just in continuation with what you're saying. Like,
Okay.
Sorry, that was interrupting. Just being honest with oneself and creating an environment of safety to ask questions.
Creating an environment of what?
When you're talking about association, strong association,
Yeah.
creating an environment where it's safe to ask questions, to be
Sorry,
really
somebody
honest with
sneezed and
oneself.
I missed the point. Sorry?
Like when we're talking about strong association.
Strong association.
What does it take to develop strong association
Yeah,
and be in that mode rather
Yeah.
than inclined to, for
Yeah.
example, steal, which was the example.
Yeah. Well, let's say, go on social media for no beneficial reason. We have a great tendency for that one. That's a form of association, you see, which waters down whatever. It's like watering down some pure substance. It waters it down, so it's not the same. It's kind of weak. It weakens one's resolve, or weakens one's, focus or determination, whatever it is. Watered down. So yeah, we try to create an environment, you're right, which is favorable for that. But that's the same thing. It's another form. It's association also. It's not just person to person. It's the environment which we live in and work in and so on, which is also part of that association. So, but either way, association is so it influences us, and we are now a resort in that sense, in terms of our condition, or we are a resort of association over a long period of time. And every association we get in this universe, every moment, has a slight effect on molding our perception, molding us in terms of our condition. And if we want, and sometimes the association brings us to the mode of goodness, sometimes to the mode of ignorance, sometimes up, sometimes down, over a period of time. And similarly with the spiritual association, but the strong, it's like melting something. If you have a rock, can you melt that with a matchstick? Even wood, you can't ignite wood with a matchstick. If it's a log of wood, it might be a little bit maybe. But when it's a log, how are you going to ignite that log? You've got to have a pretty strong fire to cause that to catch a light. What to speak of stone or metal. At high temperature, even stone will ignite. It's going to be pretty high temperature, but it may be higher than we can create. But it can melt, atomic energy. It's got to be very high energy. So depending, every individual is different. We're at different stages. We're all to some degree conditioned, for sure. So we need an unconditional association to change that tendency. If we associate with conditionals, even if it's Krishna conscious, there's some effect there, but it's not pervasive. It's not very. It doesn't irk out all the dirt, it doesn't soften the heart completely. Or it takes a long time for that effect to take place. But with very strong association, so many people will attest to this. Just coming into Prabhupada's association for a moment, you were like a different person. Changes on the spot, practically. But then you go out and associate elsewhere. You don't stay in that association. So then the remembrance of that and the effect of that's still there, but it's, it's not absolute once we're out of that association. So as much as we can keep in good association, the more the process will have effect, or the change will have effect. There are other aspects. Generally it's by association with devotees, but Rupa Goswami does say that it's also just by the mercy of the Lord it can take place, even if you're, for whatever, if you're sincere and that's not very easy to obtain for whatever reason, the Lord will also act within. He can do that. He can remove these coverings. He can help us to realize the fallacy of trying to enjoy things separate from Him. He can help us with that. And he ultimately is the one doing it, but usually it's done through the media of association with devotees. Usually that's how it evokes. On rare occasions, it's like a university may give an honorary degree to somebody, but that's rare. The normal process is you have to pass your exam. But honorary degrees can be there. Just do anything if you're sincere, if you really are sincere in your desire. And you want to. Desire is so important. Desire is at the root of it. And association is usually that which causes the change in one's desire. It might be bad association, sometimes so bad you're just praying to God, please save me from this. It's so bad. Help me. Oh God, have you ever had that? And then, when you've got what you want, you kind of loosen up again and you kind of, you're not so serious again, Quite often that happens. And so that's why it's important not just to have the environmental one, because oftentimes we fall back again, but the personal association. And what reason did Prabhupada work so hard to create an ISKCON society? What did he do it for? What did he do it for? Why did he try it? And why are we still supposed to be trying for that too? Why? Pardon? Association, isn't it? He said he wanted it, to create association of pure devotees, so anyone who comes into that association will change, wasn't it? We may be short of the mark, but that doesn't mean that the Prabhupada's intention has either failed or isn't there anymore. It's still there. And he's given us the means, and it's there in his books also. So it's to create that. So that includes your point too about the environment and so on. To create an environment which is favourable for the change to take place. And he's also given it in such a way that it's not just something at the end of the tunnel, and which we don't have any experience of now. Sometimes it's like that, but it's not. As I said in the beginning, the taste of prasadam cooked by a sincere devotee is so attractive. You come back again and again. There are many persons who've given up Krishna consciousness practice, but they won't give up prasadam. They still come to get prasadam, They're hooked. They're hooked. Yeah. And other things too. It never goes away. It stays there. Something stays. But if we really want not just something, we want everything to evolve, then we have to associate with everything. We have to absorb ourselves in the right association. And that means also not just sitting there like a rock, but practically digesting what we hear and putting that into practice, which is what you said. How is it we don't put it into practice? Again, when we're those who are putting into practice, it's a little easier to put it into practice. Let's take a simple example. If you're living on your own, and you're at a stage where you feel, Vaidhi Bhakti stage, you feel you need to follow regulated principles, like you've got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I've got to take a bath, and maybe in the cold also, and then I'm going to do Mangala Arati, then I'm going to chant my rounds, and I'm going to read the Bhagavatam, and then I'm going to cook and offer to Krishna, and then I'm going to do, it's a framework which is favorable for our transformation. But when you're on your own, it's not so easy to do that. The other modes of nature are quite strong, especially depending on how we're conditioned. Oh my God, I'm tired, it's 4:30. I'll just sleep another 5, put the pause button on, or whatever you call it, that 5-minute thing. Ding, another 5 minutes, you press it again, another 5 minutes, you press. Eventually you just turn the damn thing off. And 2 hours later you wake up, you know. Oh, it's 8 o'clock, oh my God, you know. I'm hungry. Let's see if there's anything that's already offered, so I don't have to spend my time preparing anything else, even if it isn't offered. Here, Krishna, eat this, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu. Thanks for the cornflakes. Coffee, is it decaffeinated or not? I better check my mail quick, because, you know, it might be something important on my WhatsApp or something, you know. I'll read the Bhagavatam at night when I can't sleep, you know. My rounds, I can chant them any time, you know. I got important things to do right now. You know, the day's often like that, you know. Often. No wonder we haven't got much strength or determination. So on your own, it can often happen like that. Yeah. Isn't it? I'm not saying you, but I mean, you know these things happen. So the environmental, the association is more than just sitting in a room for an hour a week with a so-called sadhu or something. But it's, you know, it's a daily affair. So we try to create it as much as we can, and you can use social media favorably like that. You know, you've got Mayapur TV, so you try to have that going on, and it can help us to wake us up a little bit and plug in. Of course, Mayapur is how many hours behind us? I don't know. How many hours? 7? 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. So that means if they have Mangalarti, it will be 11 o'clock. That's good. You can get up at 11 o'clock and have Mangalarti. You have to use a little common sense there. But if you adjust your daily schedule or something. But association, whatever form it takes, is the secret here. We can't change. We can't get out of a box, you only know the box, Change has to come from outside. By association, the heart changes, either within the box or outside the box, but the change has to be by association. Materially, we change by association, and if we want spiritual life, association is absolutely important, as much as we can. Use social media favorably, get good association, listen to good lectures, listen to Prabhupada, as much as you can. That's absolutely pure. There's no question of any tint or tinge of mixture there. All of us, we may have something, but we have some mixture also, so it's not quite the same. But you listen to Prabhupada, read the books, and do your best. Try your best. So try to hear the holy name as much as you can. And you can go on and on with different things like that, but try to, give yourself the best association you can. Krishna understands. He understands it's not so easy, especially when you're on your own, or you have to work, and you've got a family which may not always be so interested. You have to do your duty, and so on and so forth. It's not always so easy. He understands that. But you try your best. Try your best. Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.